Are we ready to take Disney's massive 10-year D23 announcement roadmap and just, inject it straight into our veins? Because, honestly, that is exactly the level of energy the Mouse House brought to their latest entertainment showcase. The sheer volume of heavy-hitting IP they dropped over this 18-hour convention brain dump was nothing short of staggering. But hey, don't worry, you don't need to sift through all that chaos. Okay, let's dive into this explainer and decode exactly what the future of pop culture looks like, studio by studio. To keep us from total cognitive overload, here is our game plan. 1. Marvel's Mutant Saga begins. 2. Star Wars and the Galaxy. 3. Pixar's bold new vision. 4. Animation and live action returns. And finally, 5. The Disney Plus strategy. Let's get right into it.
Section 1. Marvel's Mutant Saga begins. We absolutely have to start with Marvel Studios, where Kevin Feige proved once again that his greatest superpower is, well, efficiency. In no time at all, he showed us that the ink is finally dry on some massive contracts, officially kicking off the mutant era for the MCU, and he is not wasting any time. Looking at this newly minted X-Men roster, we're getting a mix of rising stars like Sadie Sink as Jean Grey and Kit Connor as Cyclops, alongside heavyweights like Christopher Abbott as Professor X, Samara Weaving as Emma Frost, Indy Navarrete as Rogue, and Maya Boyd as Storm. But the absolute showstopper? The casting that literally shifts the balance of power in the MCU? No way around it. It's Adam Driver stepping in as Nathaniel Milbury, better known to comic fans, of course, as Mr. Sinister. Now, what's really interesting about this push for theatricality is how it highlights a huge shift. For years, we've had very grounded, stoic, or morally ambiguous villains, right? But Mr. Sinister? He's an ageless, genetic tinkering mad scientist. The overarching sentiment coming out of D23 was this overwhelming desire to let comic book villains be theatrical again. Let them be campy, let them be mustache-twirling freaks of nature. And let's be real. Adam Driver has the exact dramatic chops to bring that horrific, weird, and utterly captivating villainy back to the big screen. But it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows on the Marvel front. While the mutant hype was universally praised, there's some serious bit fatigue setting in when it comes to the marketing for Avengers Doomsday. Fans are getting pretty frustrated with Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman's repetitive off-camera teasing about being in the next Avengers film without actually giving us an official MCU confirmation. I mean, when the top comment on your marketing stunt is literally begging for a straight yes or no, it might be time to retire the joke and just give the audience the concrete answers they're looking for. And that audience is going to be incredibly busy because the timeline is completely stacked. We're starting with the phenomenal-looking Vision Quest series in October 2026, with Paul Bettany and James Spader returning. Then we roll right into Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man in January 2027, but look ahead to 2028. That single year features an unprecedented 3 MCU theatrical drops, X-Men in May, Ghost Rider in July, and capping the whole shebang off with Black Panther 3 in December. The Marvel machine is officially back in overdrive.
Let's move to and see how this builds into Section 2, Star Wars and the Galaxy.
Lucasfilm is taking a very targeted approach for the next few years. On the streaming side, we've got Ahsoka Season 2 arriving in early 2027. The big takeaway from the early footage, Hayden Christensen is returning as Anakin Skywalker, and he's sporting an incredible, snowy Clone Wars-era glow-up. For longtime animation fans who grew up watching Anakin battle in those exact winter environments, seeing this translated to live action is just a massive emotional payoff. Over on the theatrical side, things are getting super interesting with Star Wars Starfighter, scheduled for May 2027. It's directed by Sean Levy and stars Ryan Gosling as a character named Cade Oberon. Oh, and it's set exactly 5 years after the events of The Rise of Skywalker.
Number 3, Pixar's bold new vision.
Shifting our focus to Pixar, we're seeing a really fascinating balancing act unfold. On the one hand, Pixar is leaning heavily into their familiar, hyper-polished 3D house style to guarantee those massive, multi-generational hits like Incredibles 3 and Coco 2. But to satisfy their artistic itch, they're making a bold departure with an upcoming original film called Gato. This one utilizes a stunning 2D hand-painted experimental art style. Seriously, we have never seen a Pixar movie look quite like this before. Mapping out Pixar's roadmap shows some incredible momentum. Instead of a slow trickle, they are firing on all cylinders. We kick off with that gorgeous 2D experiment, Gato, in early 2027. Get this, it features Mark Ruffalo playing a black cat living in Venice who works for a feline mob boss. Amazing, right? Then, 2028 hits us with a 1-2 punch.
a supernatural original called Ghost Market in March, right before the heavy-hitting blockbuster of Incredibles 3 in June. Finally, that momentum carries us all the way to Coco 2 in November 2029, featuring Ernesto de la Cruz teaming up with a now-teenaged Miguel.
I want you to really think about this year, 2029. With Coco 2 officially slated for November 2029, this makes it the absolute furthest into the future that the Walt Disney Company has officially planted a flag for a movie release. It just shows the immense confidence they have in that specific franchise to hold our attention half a decade from now.
Moving on to Section 4, Animation and Live-Action Returns. Stepping outside of Pixar, let's dive into Disney's flagship animation and live-action slate, which, as you'll see, leans very heavily on nostalgic returns to massively established IPs. And honestly, nothing proves that reliance quite like Frozen 3, coming in November 2027. The hype in the room for this was literally room-shaking. But the footage raised a huge question. They introduced a new female outcast villain, and the reigning theory coming out of the showcase is that this character might be a mysterious third sister, basically acting as the Hela of Thor Ragnarok to Anna and Elsa's family tree, a dark secret from the past coming back to haunt the kingdom.
And this brilliantly illustrates their broader theatrical strategy, relying on massive revivals alongside some exciting original swings. We have the live-action Tangled in 2028, anchored by the absolutely perfect casting of Kathryn Hahn as Mother Gothel. We also have original animated films like Hex in 2026 and Clay in 2028. But the biggest crowd surprise? A brand new Simpsons movie in 2027. They teased it with a perfectly constructed slapstick animatic of Homer fumbling his way through a nuclear plant and ending up directly on a baseball field. Classic.
Bringing us to our final section, number 5, the Disney Plus strategy.
So the crucial point is how all of this theatrical momentum translates directly to your living room. We're seeing how the platform is aggressively securing its subscriber base by heavily leveraging beloved fan-favorite IP. I mean, one of the most mind-blowing announcements of the entire showcase was this single sentence: Kingdom Hearts is getting a Disney Plus animated series. Announcing this alongside updates to their massive video game ecosystem is just a trailblazing strategy. It perfectly bridges the gap between interactive media and passive streaming, and it is absolutely guaranteed to drive massive subscriber numbers from an incredibly dedicated global fan base.
To finalize their streaming dominance, Disney is really making sure they feed every demographic. They're tapping into the intense passion of the Percy Jackson fanbase with an adaptation of The Titan's Curse coming in November 2026. They're letting Jon Favreau pioneer a brilliant live-action and 2D hybrid style for an Oswald the Lucky Rabbit miniseries co-starring Kathryn Hahn in 2027, and they are guaranteeing massive family engagement by confirming an upcoming Bluey movie which completely ignited the crowd as giant keepy-uppy balloons dropped from the ceiling.
When you synthesize the staggering volume of heavy-hitting IP, from the dawn of the Marvel Mutant saga to a bold new era for Pixar to the strategic dominance of their streaming platform, you really have to step back and look at the big picture. Disney has laid all their cards on the table. But the ultimate question remains, does this massive, nostalgia-fueled 10-year roadmap prove that the Mouse House has definitively secured the future of pop culture? Well, that's for you to decide. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you on the next one.